Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We're thrilled to have so many people in the room to help us celebrate Black History Month. We have what I hope is a fantastic evening lined up. We have two panels hosted by our amazing moderator, Samaya, and we'll also be having a fantastic discussion with my colleague Victoria, with an incredible author, Mary. So by way of introduction, my name is Michaela, and along with my colleague, Emanuela, who's at the back of the room, we are the co-leads for the Early Careers workstream of the Black Professionals Resource Group. And our aim for this community really is to achieve, inspire, and just learn from one another. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Samaya. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It is wonderful to see so many familiar faces and so many new faces as well. So for those of you who haven't been to Barclays before, welcome. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here, and welcome to this evening's fantastic event, which is all about our guest speakers here. My name is Smaya. I have been at Barclays for about 3 years. I've had various different roles, and my role at the moment is working for a space which is called COOP, Chief Operating Office. So as we go through, you'll probably see our roles are quite nebulous, which means that it kind of encompasses lots of different things. So we're going to find out more about these wonderful colleagues that we've got here. So with us today, we have Jay. Hello.
Hi.
We have Nana.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Anne-Marie.
Hi, everyone.
So I think a really good place to start this evening's session is just to ask you guys to tell us a little bit about the overview of your careers at Barclays. Anne-Marie, maybe we can start with you.
It's a bit long, no pressure. So I've been in Barclays for 20 years. I started...
You would never think it.
Lots of surprises here, but so started my career in Barclays 20 years ago. Started in a branch in Bayswater as a cashier. Probably throughout Barclays, probably last 13 years worked in retail banking. And then I kind of decided I wanted a bit of a career in Barclays and kind of wanted to jump to do something a little bit different. So I decided to go to business banking. And I've been in business banking for the last 7 years. And now my current role, which I'm a lending specialist support leader, basically within business banking now.
All right, so with my journey into Barclays, I've been here 9 years in total, nearly a decade, 9.5 to be exact. The way I stumbled into Barclays is I actually had a mother that used to work for the company also. So essentially she worked with Anne-Marie as well, funny enough, and actually referred me to the bank. And honest truth, when I first got referred to the bank, I had major imposter syndrome. Reason being is that I studied English lit at university. So, you know, people have this saying of you're either English or maths, essentially, when you go to college. And I was definitely English all the way. And so when my mum essentially even came up with the suggestion of me joining Barclays, I thought she was crazy. And honestly, I tried to start talking her out of it. But I ended up starting in the Piccadilly Circus within... in 2014, I started as what was then a cashier known as an essential banker. So I worked with a couple of colleagues that are also in the room today. Became a personal banker. The roles changed names a lot, but to keep it simple, I worked as a personal banker. Then I got headhunted to move into our business banking department. And even then, again, I was a bit hesitant, but decided to make the move. Became a relationship manager during COVID-19. So my job at that point was to actually manage relationships with customers that I couldn't meet, which was excellent. We will get into at a later point. I moved into our head office, the building you're in currently in employee communications, did a bit of time in marketing, and currently I sit as a propositions manager, which is involving essentially running events, communications, an amalgamation of a lot of different skills.
Wonderful, thank you. Jay?
So I've actually been with Barclays for about 13 months. So I don't have the 9+ experience, so I can't really advertise that. But effectively, I actually got rejected from Barclays, I think, when I applied for the grad scheme when I started off my career. So I joined Santander's investment bank instead, and then spent about 8-9 years in the market, basically doing what I do, which is capital markets, looking at structuring, debt advisory and financing renewable projects, both in the UK and Europe. And then last year got headhunted into coming to join Barclays.
Wonderful, thank you. Nana, I want to pick up on something you said, which is, I think, something a lot of us experience, and that was imposter syndrome. So, for those of you who may or may not know what imposter syndrome is when you are completely capable of doing something, but your brain tells you that you're not. So, I think that's kind of the summary for it. So, you mentioned imposter syndrome, but you also mentioned the fact that you had a network that kind of got you into Barclays. Could you maybe talk to us a little bit about how that network helped you get into Barclays?
Yeah, I'm sure. So the network that I had, both externally and internally, helped a lot because they saw basically latent potential inside me that I didn't see in myself. And it might sound cheesy or cliche to say that, but essentially, a lot of the time, life in general will teach you a lot of soft skills that you need to be able to do roles. Even when I went to university because I'm from a Ghanaian background, and anybody that is from the west coast of Africa will know that your parents are not going to give you an option in regards to going to uni. So I went to university, but I learned a lot of soft skills there that helped me in my career. And essentially, I had a lot of soft skills that I needed to do the roles that I've done that within me that I didn't see within myself. And it took mentors internally or people that I liaise with outside to give me that self-belief.
Thank you. And Anne-Marie, I know that networking has played quite an important role for you as well. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how that's influenced you.
I think, as Nana said, I know Nana's mum, so a bit strange sitting next to Nana now. I know
Some of my best behaviour.
Definitely behave yourself. But what I would say is that I think definitely my career in Barclays, probably my early years, I didn't really see the potential in networking, probably because at that time I probably wasn't really looking for a career as a single mother. So I was quite happy doing the job I was doing. But when I was ready to make the transition into business banking, someone always used to say to me, what's your brand like? If I went to another part of the bank, in business, does anyone know you anywhere else? And I didn't really see the potential in what does that mean until I started looking for another job. And so then I started to realise, actually, the more people you know, the more people you connect with, that's kind of your bread and butter. Because they're the ones that are going to come and tap you on the shoulder when there is a job vacancy there. Not potentially whilst you see it on the job board or, that's too late. So for me, networking, so events like this, LinkedIn, these are really, really important when you're trying to look for a career.
Wonderful, thank you. And Jay, as someone who's been at the bank for about 12 months, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how networking has kind of influenced or impacted your career.
I think networking is very important. I think if I look at my career today, knowing how to build relationships both internally and externally are very important. That saying of your net worth is your network is probably really true from my perspective as well. I find that the more you interact with people, especially outside of your immediate team, the more of a, call it brand culture or personal culture you have, and your personal brand. So your personal brand is very important, and how you interact with people and how you make people feel as well is actually very important as well. When you're networking with people, especially internally with Barclays, you have to maintain your brand, and you want that brand of yourself to speak volumes for you when you're not in the room, so that when you're not in the room and someone talks about you, they can speak positively about you. And that will go a long way for you in terms of your career, in terms of just people liking you. And maybe if you want to switch teams, you can do a secondment, you can do a job shadowing to another team. They will ask someone about you, and they'll want to know how are you, how do you interact, things like that. So I think it's vitally important whether or not it's internal or external, because technically, without your network, there's always a ceiling, but with a good, strong network, there is no ceiling for you in terms of what you can achieve, from my perspective.
Amazing. And that phrase, your network is your net worth, is amazing. So yeah, keep that in mind. Can we talk a little bit about personal brand, actually? Because I think for some of our guests this evening, they might be at the cusp of creating that personal brand for themselves. Maybe if you guys can give a few hints and tips around how to create a good personal brand. Jay, you were on a roll. Should we start with you?
I think if you believe you're good at something, make that visible. Like, portray what you're good at. Be known for being that subject matter expert. Be known for being that person who has that distinct knowledge or that distinct experience in whatever it is you believe you're good at. Because if you believe that and you show that, others will buy into that belief as well and will buy into that vision. And that's how you show who your platform is, from my personal branding.
Brilliant, thank you. Nana?
So mine is actually quite simple, and I actually got this from an interview I watched. So I watched the Obama interview, and I was getting ready for him to say something really profound. Well, he did. It was very profound and deep, but essentially, you know what I mean. I essentially expected something very scientific, and what he basically said was, in an organization or wherever you work, if it's government, if you're working in a corporate organization, you just want to be known as somebody that can simply get things done. Just literally be the person that can get stuff done. Because in a corporate company like here, or some of the other companies that I know are represented in the room, you'll have a lot of people that will have very scientific and detailed reasons why things can't get done, and why there's obstacles to certain things, and why you need there's grey matter with getting things signed off, etc. But being somebody that can literally take the complexity out of something and find a simple way to getting things done is probably the easiest way to get a personal brand.
Yes, very well said. And I have to say that Nana's been at the forefront and pioneering a lot of our internal initiatives as well. So I know he's kind of probably going, don't say anything. But this idea of being the person that gets things done, he is very much living that mantra. Making him shy now. And Anne-Marie, how about you?
I think when I think about brand and kind of maybe my own experience, what's got me through kind of and maybe being remembered is just making sure that have those connections, follow up with people. They'll always remember you for that. So don't be flaky, I guess. If you're going to commit to something, do it. Because as I said, people will remember you for that. But also, I think, look, having lots of different people in different departments that know, different things, that's a really good thing. Coming to networking events like this, as I've said before, going to different departments, if you're thinking about like finding another role, get interested in the team that are actually doing that role. Find out about those people, because they will remember you at the end of the day.
Wonderful, thank you. There are some brilliant little nuggets there. So Barclays is a huge organisation. It's massive. It can feel quite overwhelming. Do you have any hints and tips on how to navigate this beast when you're looking for an opportunity? Nana, let's start with you.
Yeah. It requires a bit of extra work, but what I feel will always work in your favour is if you actually have an area that you're interested in, and you might not necessarily have the experience in to reach out to that someone in that team or a hiring manager, not just a coffee chat, but you actually want to reach out and ask maybe a question along the lines of what they're struggling to deal with in terms of a day-to-day, any sort of additional tasks that their teams struggle to deal with. Even offer, if you have the capability to, and have the arrangement to actually do a bit of extra work within their business unit and show them that you're capable of doing the role. Because a lot of the time, a lot of people might see a job description and you see a lot of the criteria that's on there, and you might get that imposter syndrome feeling and feel like you're not ready for the position. But I feel like if you can literally demonstrate to a hiring manager that you're proactive and willing to actually take on tasks and not just learn or hear about the role, but actually try your hand at some of the things that they do on a day-to-day, it definitely leaves a good lasting impression.
Wonderful, thank you. Anne-Marie?
Definitely off the back of what Nana just said, I think I was having this conversation with someone today because we've got some hiring going on at the moment, and I guess what stands out to me if I'm hiring someone is, have they contacted me before that job vacancy's gone out? Because by the time the job vacancy's gone out, it's a little bit too late. It's kind of just showing that your interest is there, as Nana just said, reaching out to the team, seeing what you can do off the side of your desk. But also, don't be afraid. I think there's a lot of the time in my career, I've been knocked back so many times, I've thought, what's the point? You've got to be resilient. I think have a look back. If you get knocked back, don't be afraid to ask for feedback. Don't be afraid to ask what you could have done better. And take that with you And don't be afraid to think outside the box. There's many a time I've not got a job and I've just gone elsewhere to find it and I've got it. So sometimes you have to look outside the circle that you're in. And again, we go back to networking as well. That's pretty much how you do it. That's pretty much how I guess that most of us have done it.
Can I just say something off the back of that? So one of the ways that I got one of my roles when I actually made a switch from coverage when I was serving customer facing to head office was that I reached out to the director of the communications team, and I had a degree in English literature, but I was in a position where I'd been working in a branch for like about 5 years, so I couldn't demonstrate how I actually essentially contributed to communications. But I literally contacted the hiring manager and I sent him my dissertation. And literally, that was what got me the job. Because basically, the recruiter, because essentially when you go through an application process, you essentially go through the recruiter looks at your CV and experience, and then if they feel like you pass that sieve, then you get to the hiring manager. I'll tell you the honest truth, the recruiter actually gave me a phone call, told me that they felt like I had the potential, but unfortunately wasn't going to get passed through. And so the hiring manager then contacted me and said, "Oh, I haven't seen your application. What is the latest with your application?" He actually informed me that I didn't get through, and he then actually made the decision to interview me anyway. And then essentially, when I then got the job, I thought it was a prank call because I got a call from him at like. Honestly, I got a call from him at like 8 a.m. in the morning. I didn't used to be the most, I didn't used to like mornings, but I got a call from him at 8 in the morning and thought, what are you talking about? And it took me a while, and then actually when I realized that I actually passed the interview, in shock. But yeah, it was because of the fact that I'd taken a proactive step to reach out and make and network and shown that I had the soft skills for that role in a slightly different, unorthodox way than the norm, but I reached out nonetheless.
Amazing, thank you. And Jay, how about you?
I'll echo what they both said. I think you have to be proactive in terms of what you want. I think you have to, like Nana said, you have to know what you want, right? I think when I look at myself and my team, when I'm recruiting for junior roles, and I'm looking at grads or interns, or I look at people's hunger, people's willingness to work, people's interest. I think, being here for 12 months, everyone loves a coffee chat in Barclays. I'll get teams or emails saying, can I have a coffee chat to find out what your team does, or I heard about your team, I did blah, 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 can we meet? And I'm very receptive to do that. Because for me, that shows that you're interested. It shows to me you're active. I can see a willingness to actually want to know more, and that's how you actually build the relationships, right? We talk about your network, because then the next time you have a role available, you're already thinking about those people you already had a coffee chat with, and they should be applying as well. And that's how you do it. You just have to be keen to show what it is what you want, and be hungry for it as well, because at the end of the day, no one's going to do it for you. And something that Michael, who's one of the panelists as well, he's my mentor, said to me, if you don't say something, your line manager will never know. And when you don't get it, how is he meant to know you ever wanted it? So don't assume someone's going to want to do the best for you or has the best interest for you. You have to be proactive. You have to actually say, I want this. Can you help facilitate this for me? Can you help open doors for me? Can you help reach out to someone for me that will benefit me in terms of my long-term career? And last thing I would add as well that I think Barclays is actually really good at is the employees resource groups, the ERGs that Barclays have, and I'm sure other organizations will have it as well. I think going to their events and reaching out to people in there, because that's the first thing I did when I actually joined Barclays last year. I reached out to, I asked my friend who I knew worked at Barclays, I said, who's the president of BPRG, so I can actually get to know all the black people within Barclays as well. I actually started to build networks and have some friends within Barclays, I guess. And that's a good way to reach out to people, to actually know the different parts of the bank, because Barclays is huge. We have so many teams, we have so many divisions. No one knows what anyone does. There's a lot of titles, a lot of things. So the more you interact with people and you reach out to people, that's when you start to know more about the organization and more about people.
Thank you. And I should say that everything that our panelists have said for internal contacts, I think you can translate into doing if you're not within Barclays. So using LinkedIn and these sort of events to build your networks. It's not something solely that is kind of about internal networks. And Anne-Marie, you talked about building resilience which I think is very, very important. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you have navigated through rejections?
So I think probably the most devastating time, I say devastating, I'm a bit dramatic, but I'd probably say that when I was trying to make my career switch from retail to business, that was probably the biggest jump, having to do that. But it wasn't initially getting the first job I got to go into business banking, which I was a small business manager, so a bit like a relationship manager who used to have a portfolio of clients she used to look after. It was navigating my way onwards from there. So I found it the more difficult and higher up you went, the more difficult it was to try and get that job role. So I think when I went from a small business manager role, I went into a more junior role as a relationship manager. I, was doing the job, felt like I was doing everything I needed to do, was ticking all the boxes, got really good end of the year reviews, and then I thought, right, I think it's time to move on. I think it's time to apply for that promotion, and I got rejected. And it came out of nowhere. Actually, I actually thought I was going to get this job, and I took a step back and I thought, okay, maybe it's just not my time at the moment. I tried to get as much feedback as I could have done. I thought, okay, give this a try, give it another 6. You have to wait 6 months before you can realise. I thought I'd do everything I need to do to try and, get the experience that I need. And I reapplied after 6 months and I didn't get the job again. And at that point, I thought, right, what is it? What have I missed? What is it I'm not doing? And I realised what it was. I just alluded to it earlier. I was just thinking within this box of a team that I used to work in. And I thought, why am I just looking within this space? There's relationship managers all over the country. I don't have to stay here. So I started to build my network. I started to go out and network a lot. I started to meet people. And I got to know a manager that worked in another area and got talking. And then a few months down the line, there was a job role that came up. So that I think you might be quite good for this job role. To be honest, at this point, I thought, I'm just going to give it a go, but it's probably going to be a no anyway, but I'm going to give it my best. And I applied and I got that job. And I've never looked back since. And so what I would say is that, yes, you're going through really tough times and, sometimes you might get criticism that you're probably not going to, you're not going to see coming, but take it, I think listen to it, but also I think just expand that a little bit further. Don't keep yourself within a space that you feel comfortable, make yourself uncomfortable and go and look for those jobs elsewhere. If someone doesn't want you there, someone else will have you, I can guarantee it.
Beautifully said, thank you very much. Nana, how about you? So building resilience and sort of dealing with rejection.
Yeah, so I think my personal saying to that is you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I'll give you an example. My current position is a proposition delivery manager. So I work in a part of the bank on the equal that. So we basically are in Barclays UK business banking. And we've just been awarded this large government grant and we're essentially going around the country supporting businesses UK-wide. We've appointed a advisory board of colleagues that are essentially like very senior, either ex-official or Barclays or that CEO or director of their own company. So I've got one of my first ever meeting was in Glasgow, so I turned up into this meeting and essentially I was very confident to go and I heard this level of discussion that was going around the table and I honestly sat there and I thought, what am I doing here? What am I going to say that's going to sound profound? And then again, I was sat there thinking for about 5 minutes, I don't know how I'm going to enter into this conversation and say something that's going to sound really profound. But then essentially I kept it very simple, I gave essentially an overview of the project I was working on at the time. And in all honesty, that really did just calm my nerves. I saw a few nodding heads and I thought, okay, cool, I'm okay. But honestly, it's really, and obviously it's true, like, when you get around people, and you need to try and always challenge yourself to be around people that are a lot more intelligent, even older, slightly more mature and established in yourself. And it will feel super uncomfortable at first, but then when you get used to doing that, you end up really building your resilience and confidence up. So put yourself in as many situations that make you uncomfortable as possible. And I know it might, you'll deal with imposter syndrome, you'll make mistakes as well. So be ready for that. Be ready to make mistakes. But then look at it more as a learn than loss. And always just really make sure that so for example, if you approach anyone of us or the other second panel to come, always have it in your mind as well that you are the one that's going to score the goals in your own life. So a lot of networking events I've been to, I've met a lot of people that are really ambitious, but then expect you to put them in a position that they can then leverage off. You need to basically have it in your mind that any one of us can only provide you an assist. You're the one that needs to score the goal at the end of the day. So you need to really be in it to win it and really put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Thank you so much. And Jay, how about yourself?
So as I said, I got rejected by Barclays. When I applied for the grad scheme, I actually can't remember why I got rejected, but it's one of those things get rejected. And I think I remember saying to myself, I will get them back one day. I know quite personal. But what I was also saying is, I feel like it's okay to actually get rejected, and you should be okay with that, because sometimes I think that as human beings, we believe that we should get it right there and then, we should get that promotion then, we should get that job then. Sometimes it may not be the right time for you, or you may just need an extra 6 months and 12 months, or it may not be the right job for you. And it's okay to accept that. I think you have to be strong, you have to be able to navigate through difficult times, but have that strong mentality and have that focus on what is your goal, what is your long-term goal, how can you reach it. Everyone's always in this race to get up the ladder very quick. Sometimes you may need to go left, you may need to go right, you need to go side, you need to go back sometimes before going forward again, and that's okay. At the end of the day, it's your race. No one else is in the race for you, you're racing yourself. I've had, apart from the initial Barclays one, I think I got turned down for a promotion at my last organisation, in which maybe it was due to the fact of what I was told was that they had to give it to the person because his father was head of something in South America, so head of another business in South America, so maybe it might have been that. However, don't always let that be what defines you. I kind of feel that you have to put that aside and say, okay, fine. What was the reasons why I didn't get a job? What was the reasons why I didn't get a promotion? If you agree with those reasons, and even if you don't agree with those reasons, right, work on what they said, but also work on what you believe to focus on more, because then you get the next opportunity, you should tick all the boxes. And actually, you might get rejected again, but it's fine to get rejected again, and that's the honest truth, because it might not be the right time for you. And actually, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, when you are where you want to be, and you feel to yourself, actually, those rejections actually helped me, because those jobs I wanted weren't the jobs for me. I actually wanted to do something different. That's when you can sit back and smile about it. So I sit here smiling that, well, I'm rejected. I'm here now, so but it's fine.
We are so happy you're here with us, finally.
One point to what you said as well. A good way to think about, if you ever get rejected for a job, and we all have to, one good way to think about things as well is think about when you're applying, think from a lens of what can I do that any other applicant won't do. And like I said this in many comments before, away from even a businessman, like a businessman is something that I'll say probably about 8% of people won't do, but a simple 30, 60, 90 days with 5 bullet points underneath each of them. But for example, what I did as well, and I've seen other colleagues do that work really well, is for example, with my current role proposition, I was doing a lot of stuff with like a lot of our branches, doing local events and supporting leaders, and I thought, I'm getting into a role that's going to require me to do events on a national scale. So I built up a small PowerPoint presentation of every single event I've done, every testimonial that I've given, every sort of positive bit of feedback from a senior leader, and I packaged that up and sent it through as an example of stuff that I've done. So that's more so for an events role, but you might work in data and analytics, and you might have done, you might have modeled some particular projects or done something revolutionary to change how a particular business area works. There's no harm in modeling that into some sort of simple, easy, just case study and showing your future hiring manager that. Because a lot of our hiring managers, a lot of that. So always think from a lens of what can I really do to make sure that when I leave that interview, that person's still thinking about me.
That's wonderful, thank you. And I think everything that you guys have said has really been talking to having your own voice in that process. So I think my final question to you guys is, for this wonderful group of people here, how would you encourage our friends here and our colleagues to really vocalise their perspective, their opinions, without being labelled as overly challenging or overly difficult? Anne-Marie, should we start with you?
I think sometimes it's reading the room, isn't it? I think there's always a way to say something, and I think most of the time, I think we've obviously worked for Barclays, and I think there's lots of different opinions that you'll have, but I think sometimes it's just reading the room, listening. I think listening to other people's opinions is important. You know, I think just reading kind of the situation you're in. That's how I kind of say it. There's nothing wrong with vocalising what you want to say. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So sometimes I think just have a think about what it is you want to say, maybe try and vocalise it in the best way possible, that other people are going to maybe understand. That's kind of how, when it's quite a challenging conversation, always listen to that person. Ask questions. No one's ever going to, have a go at you for asking a question off some of the back of what they're saying. But I think also just try and understand where someone else is coming from, but also don't be afraid to have your opinion also. So I think people will respect you in a way.
Wonderful, thank you. Nana, how about you?
Yeah, I'll summarize that. I get an emotional intelligence. You need to basically know sometimes when to agree to disagree, or because again, in an organization, you might, as a junior colleague, have an idea or an innovative way of doing something that is technically right, but then in the hierarchy, you're not in a position to make that decision. So sometimes as well, you've got to have emotional intelligence. You've got to essentially be willing to bide your time and just wait for an opportunity. Sometimes you essentially have to take a long road. Is essentially what I'm saying. You've got to put what you're thinking into action and actually demonstrate by doing rather than telling. Because at the end of the day, despite the fact that, for example, even here we have great cultures, but we're an organisation with great cultures, but you still need to have that respect for your line manager. There's even a saying in the 48 laws of power to never outshine the master. And that's basically, you don't ever want to be in a position where you're making your line manager feel like you're trying to make them obsolete. And so you always need to basically make sure that you respect authority at the end of the day. Even if you've got a good working relationships with people, you always have to understand that there's different nuances and cultures, there's different ways that people perceive things. The perception is a big thing as well. Because there's been many times, even in my own career, where I've just gone ahead and done something and thought, that's an amazing idea, but then the perception of it in regards to how it might be deemed from to somebody in a separate department. If I'm doing events and there's an actual events team and I'm not consulting them on their specialism, is again something that's going to rear up a few heads. So you need to make sure that even if your intentions are pure, you always check on what you're intending to do before you make that decision.
That's wonderful. And actually the book that Nana just mentioned is the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. It's a good book. Jay?
I would add, I don't repeat what they said, because I think what they said is pretty spot on. What I would say is, I think that what I found especially in Barclays, is sort of like culture, right? And having the right culture enables people to have a voice. It allows you to be able to speak confidently to your colleagues, be professional about how you come across and be approachable. I think having the right culture within your teams, because especially in what I do, I might always believe I'm the smartest person in the team. However, I do listen to, whether it's people below me, to the like juniors, because you can learn from them. You can learn from anyone, whether they're a senior or whether they're junior to you, right? We all come from different backgrounds, and we can all bring a different way of thinking, different way of analysing things, and a different way of accepting the outcome. And we're able to communicate that effectively, but also take things from people that, I hate to say this, but from a hierarchy of grade-wise, it makes you a better person, because it means you're a good listener, and it actually means that you're not trying to be a dictator or whatever, that you actually encourage people to speak to you about different things, and that way it makes you a better person as well.
Yeah. So, that's a really good point, because, for example, And I'll give you a real life example. So I worked in the branch network, and I saw how customers interacted with our market on a day-to-day basis. So when I went into the marketing team, I thought, I've worked in the branch, I understand what customers want, why are you not listening to me? And in all honesty, I had to realize that customers are a main stakeholder, but then the more senior you get in a position and the more experience you have, work with a variety of different stakeholders. So for example, to get a marketing ad live, you need to work with the agency, you need to get internal sign-offs from numerous different teams in order to get literally a concept from on paper down to what you see on the TV screen. So essentially, I had to go through, essentially get that experience and that exposure to that particular industry and have a senior company talk me through that process to learn that you might have an idea like a way at one point at the start of the start of your project, but then it might turn around completely different from what you ended up envisioning because of the amount of different litigations and processes you need to go through. So a lot of the time, as a junior colleague, you might get frustrated because you have the belief that you've got the core understanding of how something should work, but that you also understand that there's a lot of complexity in an organisation, which is why our heads of the team are always trying to push the simplicity and stuff that we're working on.
That is wonderful, Anne-Marie, and Jay. Thank you so much for your wisdom. In summary, I think what we have had is don't listen to your imposter syndrome. That's bad. Really create your own voice, create networks, and really understand what that personal brand is that you want to create. What is it that you're representing? And just be very articulate and have your own voice and have your own perspective in showing that to the outside world. So thank you so much. I think we have one question. We might have some questions in the audience. We've got time for one question. We've got loads of questions. Who's got the mic? Would you like my mic?
I can just click my voice.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, thank you for your time just now. I have a question. Name the J, I would say. So you said that Barclays is a place of coffee chats, right? Which it is. In those coffee chats, what would you want to see from somebody who would want to possibly work with you in the future?
Jay, and just say that again, just in case people didn't hear it at the back. So the question or the statement was that Barclays is a culture of coffee chats, which is very true. And the question to Jay is, what attributes would you like to see in someone who you might want to employ in the future?
So, are we talking about like a grad, intern, associate? Okay. I think in terms of what my team does, we're very technical in terms of like, there's a lot of financial analysis and modelling. I wouldn't expect that from someone coming in new, junior, to know that, or to have that experience, or have that skill set yet. That's something we can teach you. You can learn on the job. What I'm looking for is the right attitude, the attitude to learn, the willingness to want to learn. If you ask for a coffee chat, I would hope you do some research about what we do, talk to me about what we do, ask questions about what we do. Actually show that you are hungry and you want to be that person that when I have a role available, I'm thinking, okay, that person actually surprised me in terms of what they were trying to achieve for that coffee chat. I would say to everyone, don't sugarcoat why you're asking for a coffee chat, just tell me what it is. Straight away, let's just have our open floor. And yeah, just let me know how passionate you are about trying to join my team, or even if it's not my team, trying to join another team. Why you join that team? What are the reasons? What drives you towards that team? And if you can show that from your actions and how you speak and how you come across, I'm pretty sure that person will definitely at one point get a chance.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think that's all we've got time for. So from me and from everyone, Anne-Marie, Nana, and Jay, thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Miami. I work in the Barclays Payments marketing team. I'm also a member of the BPRG, which is the Black Professionals Resource Group, which is one of the fabulous ERGs James told us about earlier. And we put this event on today for Black History Month and also to introduce you all to Mary. So, hi Mary. Can you tell us a little bit briefly about yourself and your book?
Okay. Feels like an abrupt change from like 4 people to like, yeah, so even I'm trying to get my mind back, but it's great to be here. I didn't realize there's these many people behind me, but hi, everyone. So my name is Mary Adeyemi. I am a banker turned learning and development consultant. And what I do really in my now not full-time business is to work with professionals to help them build what I call purposeful, profitable, and progressive careers. And I also work with very like employee-centered organizations to create programs focused on learning that also help, train staff in the way that they're supposed to be and can give them the tools that they need to be successful at work, but also really keep engagement and retention in the organization. And I really just transitioned to doing this full time, I would say 4 months ago, something like that. But I have been running my business for the last 7 years, but doing that alongside a full-time job in banking as a risk manager. So I started my career in 2005. So a while back, sort of interning and doing the things, and then I started full-time, in 2008 in Bank of America. We're just sort of down the road somewhere around here then in Canary Wharf, and then spent 10 years there in risk management, and then moved to Goldman for the last few years of that part of my career. And yes, I'm really excited about sort of the transition and chatting a little bit about that next time.
Thank you. And kind of just on that, you said you've been doing this for 4 months full time, but some of us have been following for a very long time. So I'm really glad you made it here to this stage. And I guess one thing I wanted to talk about was your book, Visible Strengths.
Yeah.
And in the opening of your book, I came across a phrase you used where you described in your time at Bank of America, I believe, you felt hyper visible, but also unseen at the same time. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you meant by that?
Yes. So a little more context. I'm an author. So I wrote a book called Visible Strengths, and actually today is actually 1 year that we've been on the market. Today is like Visible Strengths' birthday. So if you're following us on Instagram, yeah, so I was like, oh my God, it's my brainchild's birthday today. So, it's sort of, so all the Instagram aunties and uncles have been sending sort of, yeah, congratulations. It's been quite surreal. And so Visible Strengths is a book about how career professionals in particular, those who are sort of starting out in their career, can accelerate their career, by doing 3 things, by learning how to capitalize on their strengths, contribute value, and communicate results. And so, yeah, so what Victoria was asked is like, so in the introduction, one of the things that, as I was reflecting and writing the book, I was thinking about sort of those first few years and feeling like, bear in mind, this is, call it 2008, middle of the financial crisis, I was a sort of dot on the floor that looked very like, basically, you basically walk into the room and say the black girl, and everyone would know like exactly where the black girl was, because there's no other black girl, there's not a black person, shall we say, on the floor at the time. And so I always felt like it was so easy to spot me in a room, and I was always just there. But every sort of performance review, I would always get the feedback like, so you need to be more visible, you need to be more visible. I'm like, like, hello, so I always felt the sort of sense of, I guess the word that, culture kind of provided for that is what we call hypervisibility. I didn't really know there was a word like that at the time. But yeah, so you stand out naturally because of how you look and, things like that. But I also felt like I was always getting feedback that people just did not know who I was and the like. And so, I really internalized that feedback actually. I thought, am I invisible? Like, it's just sort of weird. And I think because I'm Nigerian by birth, I didn't have racial conversations growing up. It was just not a thing. I mean, I had gender conversations and what I should be doing or not doing as a woman, but I never had racial conversations. So coming into the workplace, I was like, so in my mind, I was thinking, so is it really true, like this thing that you hear on the street, like is it really true that you can be around so many people and still feel like no one sees you? And so I really internalized that as what was going on around me. And then many years later, I think it started clicking actually what they were trying to say without really having the right words to say. It was like, we can see you, it's not like we don't see you, like we can see you physically, but we don't know what you do every single day. Like when you show up, like you can't associate your presence with your delivery, like with your work. And so oftentimes when, I think, many of the people in the room feel like that way, but the point is just, what are you doing that people care about? So you could be doing a lot of what I call busy work, but are you doing valuable work? And so that's kind of where that came from, and also the light bulb moment that came after that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I think lots of people probably relate to that, right? And similar experiences myself. I think the common theme I keep seeing today is it's important to be seen, right? But also that personal brand, what you're known for, what people call on you to do. And I guess just on that, in your book, it's all about strengths and knowing yourself inside out. How would one person do an audit of their natural talents? For those of us who might not know, what am I really good at? Or how would I really sell myself? How would you do that?
That's a great question. I mean, I write extensively about this in the individual strengths. So we talked a lot about strengths. Maybe for the first 5 chapters of the book, because it is so important, that your career really should sit on the foundation of who you are fundamentally and outside of somebody else. It's like, it's not smart to build your career on somebody else's life and not yours. And I think that's basically sort of inherently the message in Invisible Strengths. And so, how do you do that practically then is, I talk about 3 ways in the book, and it's one, spend time with yourself, sort of that introspection, success or strength, shall we say, leaves clues. So there are things that, even just sitting with yourself and thinking about something, you probably figure out, some of the things you do. And so I provide sort of strengths buckets around like, your knowledge, what do you know, your attributes, who are you fundamentally, your skills, what can you do, your history or experience, what have you done before, what do you do at home, and don't leave out like the important job experiences like, how you run your home and how you're the chief operating officer of your family, because bills don't get paid and nobody eats if you're not there. That's extremely important experience that you can actually bring to the workplace. But even like experience from, potentially sectors that they don't feel, related, you could learn so many different sort of transferable skills, from there. And then, finally I talk about like, what are your interests, like what are the things that excite you or build curiosity within you. But beyond just spending time with yourself, definitely asking other people around you. I think a lot of us have blind spots, right? We have things that we do naturally, but because we do them so naturally, we don't stand out to us. And so maybe asking those kind of questions with your friends, I remember asking one of my friends, I was like, what problem would you be having for me to be your first phone call? We all have like friends that we call when it's like the dating question. We have the friend that we call when we talk about God. We have the friend you call when you want to go for a night out. You have the friend when when it's a family thing, because in those people you've actually identified a level or quality, or wisdom around that subject area. You are that friend in a specific area for somebody else, and that's obviously a good question to ask. But also just reaching out to like, whether it's family, colleagues, friends, what 3 words would you use to describe me? Ask a plethora of questions. I mean, Invisible Strength, I'm gonna give like sort of 10 different questions that you could potentially ask to do that. And also reviewing feedback, in environments like this, you're being given feedback all the time, whether it's just sort of interim feedback or feedback like through the formal process. So actually read between the lines of what people are saying, what words are they using to describe it. I think all of those are helpful. And the final way I wrote in the book, I'm sure there are other ones, is to also leverage things like psychometric assessments. Have people heard of like MBTI and Gallup Strengths Finder and things like that? If you haven't, there's some that really free and available tools you can use. So 16personalities.com, It is definitely one you can use. Gallup Strengths Finder, so the top 5 strengths, it's probably like 20 pounds or something like that to get it done. So these are like very small investments, but that will yield the results in you in sort of the self-discovery, which is sort of like super key. And I love psychometric assessments because kind of it's based off science, and that's also how my brain works. But beyond that, it gives you language. You know, sometimes you're like, I can't think I do this well, but psychometric assessments will tell you that, you actually, someone like you would probably do, you do this well, and someone like you is successful in these types of environments. So, yeah, lots of different ways, but yeah, I think you successfully do it.
You love psychometric assessment.
Yeah. I like human psychology. I think let's put it that way. I think psychometric assessment is like a reflection of that. I mean, people watch I just love seeing like how, this is why I watch Real Housewives of like wherever, because I just sit down and think, what is going on in this person's head? Why do they behave like, and I'm just trying to understand a lot of just, behavioral science. I think that's really where it comes from.
Behavioral science. And I think that links with the point about emotional intelligence we learned earlier. How are we doing for time? Are we okay? Okay. One question, and then I'll open it to the floor just in the interest of time. I guess I would say at Barclays, and actually in finance in general, but all about leveling up, upscaling, bettering ourselves in doing, I guess, more in the workplace. What are some of the things somebody should do to level up in their career, maybe secure a promotion, make the next steps?
Okay, so specific to promotion, I mean, the panel that was just before were just excellent. Talked about so many different things that I would say, pushing beyond, like going beyond sort of what is required, stepping outside of the box, making me ask, all of those things. But I think that, I'll share a quick story. I think that sort of draw 3 lessons I think that could really be helpful. I remember sort of co-managing someone a few years ago. And in our conversations, like, she had her primary manager, so sort of like what we call like a manager mentor kind of character. Anyway, so we would have these conversations, I would have these really honest conversations, and she would tell me about how, she thinks she can do her job well, but she just really struggles with certain things, and, she just, and I would talk about like, what are the next steps for you in the next, and she just, I just want to do this for another, maybe another year just to build sort of skill and all of that type of stuff. And I just think like, it's so interesting that she actually thinks like she's not ready for self-promotion. But at the time, I think I didn't just met her, I didn't know enough about sort of her skill set to say, hey, I actually think that you are, so I couldn't counter it. So I just sort of let it be for a bit. And over the next few weeks, we just kind of started having more and more conversations, and it just seemed that she was just vehemently like, I'm not really ready for this, and, we'll deal with it sort of when we need to deal with it. Okay, cool. 4 months later, I didn't get a call from her manager saying like, oh, she didn't get promoted in this round, and she's like super upset. I was like, what? I'm a little bit confused. Like, why are you super upset? But it kind of went down this whole like, rabbit hole of like, why are you upset? Like, I thought I was going to get it. I expected I was going to get it. I've already done 3 years. I kind of hit the markers, and I just thought, but that's not how it works. And so in there it sort of lies sort of 3 lessons I thought, would be really helpful to share here around promotion specifically. Is number 1 is just sort of that promotion mindset. It is so difficult to convince everybody that you're ready for a promotion if you don't believe that you are. So there has to be that sort of moment in time where they say, you know what? I may not have all the boxes ticked, but I'm going to go for this anyway, right? And the same goes for even like getting a new role outside of the bank or, exploring other things. Just, you have to basically be like 1,000% convinced. Like, you need to buy your own Kool-Aid. You have to be your own first investor. You have to be your own first customer. And so mindset is definitely important. And I think the other thing that trips people up is just sort of, I guess, their own sort of mastery of different elements. So whether it's like self-mastery, like what am I actually delivering? What are my own capabilities? What do people say, about me, like in terms of like my credibility? Really understanding the specific contributions that you're making in the organization, and not just, again, not busy work, but actually things that are moving the organization forward strategically. It's so important to master that, but beyond that, there's the politics of the promotion, right? So there's the politics of the promotion in terms of who are your stakeholders, who is on the table, who's making decisions, who's opposing you, who's advocating for you, who's neutral on you. Because people who are neutral on you can be super dangerous, because one day they can either become advocates or they can become opposers, right? So there's a little bit of like the dynamics and the management of that that parents be aware of, but also just like the system in which promotions happen within the organization. Do you know the time that promotions are announced? If you work backwards, do you know when the decisions are made? Then if you work backwards, do you know when you start having the conversations? Do you know? So all of those things is a bit of a map. So if you're thinking about getting promoted in the next 6 months to 1 year, you have to literally do a timestamp so that you can act accordingly. You know, and the final thing I'll say about that conversation just around messaging. You know, the biggest failure for that lady I was just talking about was the way she was communicating, or lack thereof. She just never said she wanted a promotion. In fact, she was saying almost the contrary. So, and it was said on this panel, right? Like, don't expect anyone, I think it was James, like, don't expect anyone to be thinking about you. No one is thinking about anybody else but themselves. That's just a fact, right? So don't expect anyone to be thinking about whether or not this person is ready for a promotion or not. Like, you have to say, hey, I am ready. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is, you know, keep that, you know, communicate around like your readiness for promotion, communicate around like, get clarity on the process, get clarity on the metrics, get clarity on decision makers, like continue to like have the conversation, you know, and have everything in writing. Like this is war. This is how I think about it. Like it has to be literally that deep. It's like trying to get a promotion is a new job, right? It's the same way you're gonna think about getting a job, like get all the things on the paper, do the CV, do all of that. A lot of us don't think about promotions like that. We just think, oh, it's just the next level, but it's actually a new job. So take it as seriously as that. But in the end, also resilience, right? Because even if you do everything, there's still lots of factors that come into play. So you just have to be able to do it in a healthy way and get ready to do it again if you need to do it again. You know, but yeah.
Thank you for that answer. I guess one way to sound really confident when going for things in your career is to know your strengths. So recommend you guys all to do an audit of personal strengths that told us. I guess I would say just before we close, I'd like to open up the floor, see if anyone has any questions for Mary, based on anything she said so far today.
3 questions.
3 questions, okay. I'll let Michaela back.
Thank you, Mary.
Sure.
That one, so. Sorry.
Thank you. Hello. Okay, hi. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Victoria. Great discussion. I just wanted to find out what systems did you put in place to help you run your business whilst you were still working full-time?
Ooh. What systems did I put in place? Good question. Difficult answer. What systems did I put in place? I mean, other systems vary over time, right? So there was a time where I kind of had a bunch of, like, I had a team, I had people working with me to get things done. And so when I was like at work, they would be getting things done, you know, then. There was also a system of not taking too much on, you know, because we have a full-time role, there's only so much, you know, you can do. Batching work was also like a big thing. I would like do a bunch of things like over the weekend and just make sure like they're ready to go and put everything on autopilot, shall we say, to get things out. But yeah, difficult question to answer. Try not to get myself into trouble as well. So I need to kind of be careful how I answer this question. But invariably, yeah, just, you know, having people around you, not taking on too much, and trying to, like, you know, do the work when you can, when you have time, and do as much of it as you can, because there were just times when I'll have a peak season at work, which is pretty much all the time. But yeah, like, I mean, there was just not much else I could do.
Okay, thank you. And just to follow up, did you ever experience burnout? And if you did, how did you?
All the time. I'm super unhealthy. Super unhealthy. I mean, I write, in one of the chapters, talk about health, the chapter on health. And it was interesting because the chapter on health, invisible strengths, we're talking about just health and productivity. And that was probably one of the hardest chapters to write. I had a lot of content for that chapter, but it was a very difficult chapter to write, simply because I had just come off from major surgery, just as I was writing that chapter, and I was having what basically a mental breakdown as I was writing the chapter. And I remember thinking, I was saying to my publisher, every time you send me a message, I have like a heart condition or something. I just, every time I see your email, you're freaking me out. So you just need to go away. And so actually thinking about it really enough, it's kind of making me a little emotional, but it was just such a difficult time. But it meant I had to, in that moment as I was writing the chapter, basically live what I was saying, right? You can't take on too much. Learn to know when to say, it's enough. Learn to stop. Learn to listen to your body. And I had to ask for a 3-month extension just because of that, even writing the health chapter. So it's a bit sort of odd that was happening then. But you have to learn to deal with sprains before they become breaks. You need to know what sets you off. You need to know how to rest. You need to know how to take things on. I say to the people that work with me now, I don't work weekend. Even now, I try that. I work 4-day weeks. I try to do certain things, and I'm I'm not going to replicate my life in banking whilst running my business. It's just not going to happen. And so I try to really, even though it's hard, because actually, if you're running your business, you probably work 10 times harder than when you're working for a company, because you're constantly thinking about it, and the buck stops with you. But listen to your body, do the needful, sleep a lot, exercise, eat well. All of those things, I think all of that really helps.
Thank you.
So unfortunately, we don't have time for any more questions. So sorry to do Sunday, but I will add that we do have some time for networking and professional stuff for this final panel. So you can still grab them, please. Just on that, we are finished, or welcome to the next panel now. I just wanted to put this slide up on the screen, so if anyone is interested in hearing a little bit more about Mary or checking out the book, just stand there. Thank you, everyone.
Mary, thank you so much. That was incredible. I was like, how is she? Thank you. That was incredible. Sharing the story. Anne-Marie, Fernando, so thank you very much. Our leaders of the future. So thank you for sharing all of your insights and wisdoms with us. We now have our inspirational leaders. So we have with us Sean McIntyre. We have Victor Laidler. And we have Michael Nutty. I've had the pleasure of working with Sean before, but not Victor or Michael. I think one of the themes that keeps coming up this evening, also, by the way, apologies for having my phone on my lap. I forgot my watch, so I'm not syncing in text because I'm actually trying to keep track of time. One of the themes that has come up repeatedly is that of resilience. And the idea of building resilience and how we sort of bring resilience into the workplace. And to Mary's point, how we use resilience for well-being, I think, really. So I think, actually, before we do that, let's do the introduction. Getting really excited about the questions. Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and journey at Barclays? Josh, who's done with you?
Oh, okay. I feel like I've just had a career masterclass, by the way, so thank you. And I'm not quite sure how we follow that act, but I will do my best not to let my peers down. I'm actually going to start to take a little bit of a step back. I joined Barclays 10 years ago, but I started my career in Benton in retail, so I can fold a jumper like nobody else can. I moved then into a telephony role, working for a PT in a service centre, And the reason I want to talk about that is that's where I really cut my teeth in terms of customer and really understanding what's important to a business from that perspective. Anyway, qualified as a lawyer, 20 years later, worked at Lloyds Banking Group and joined Barclays 10 years ago now. So I know nanos, I've done a decade. I'm not a lawyer anymore. I'm now in the business and I made that transition about 6 years ago. I'm managing director for our Life Moments division. What does that mean? We love a good name. Effectively, I support our customers and our brokers help fulfill their home ambition. So that's mortgages, protect their wealth, build financial resilience, so that's savings and investment, and then protect themselves from future and lost events, and that's really insurance. But I'm really proud to be part of Barclays, but I've had quite a broad career. Thank you.
I'll jump in next and great to be here with all of you this evening. I joined Barclays almost 10 years ago. I've got a similar story to Jay as I applied for the grad scheme, so was rejected as part of that. So I think there's a little bit of a theme there. And I think my story also speaks to resilience somewhat, because after getting rejected and doing 200 applications to try and break into the industry, coming from a university that wasn't really a target campus for investment banking, it was quite hard for me to try and break my way in, essentially, and I had to kind of go through the back door. I took a very low-paid job that looked good on paper. I used that to be able to get a job that ultimately I was actually headhunted by Barclays 18 months later on. So managed to get my way in somehow. I've been here for 8 years. I've done quite a few different roles within the bank. A lot of that speaks to the importance of having a good network within the organisation and institution, also having supporters and people vouch for you when you're not in the room, as James also said earlier. I currently work within a team called ESG Advisory. It's a sector coverage team within the investment bank. We essentially help companies become more sustainable on their transition. It covers ESG as a whole, which is comprised of 3 things: environmental responsibility, social sustainability, and making sure that companies have good governance frameworks in place. So it's a very, very broad role. It covers everything from climate commitments to diversity and inclusion, and helping companies do their DEI engagements and actually making sure that they're run properly. And I think the importance of this, everything that we're seeing and hearing from the speakers today, is really fueling the growth of my business going forward. So it's actually very reassuring to see that a lot of what we're speaking about today is making huge progress within the corporate community as companies step forward on their commitments. We'll speak about some of this later. Also,
thanks, Big Dan. Unlike these two, I didn't get rejected by God. I got rejected by everybody. So I'm not sure why they're complaining. I joined Barclays about, 11 or 12 years ago. Before that, I spent 15 years at Goldman. But I kid you not, I went through the same process. I'm from Ghana originally. I didn't go to a particularly good university when I came. I got rejected by literally everybody. I took a job, I trained as an accountant. And I really wanted to get into banking, not because I knew anything particularly about banking or because I thought banking was the thing to do. It's just everybody I knew in banking made more money than I made as an accountant. And so I went through the process of how do I get into banking, and eventually it led me to business school, which is what I was told to do. So I went to London Business School. And then once I got into business school, all of a sudden, all the banks came in there. I got a bunch of interviews. I picked Goldman Sachs, again, not because I knew it was the best one, but it's because I liked the people who interviewed me. I joined Goldman. I joined Goldman in the markets division in sales. I made MD in 2009 as for partner. I made MD in 2005 up for partner 2010. I didn't make it. I left and I decided to come here where I've done a variety of things here. So, again, some of the stories are interesting. I think we've all lived them. The rejection, it just comes with it. Resilience, I'm sure we'll talk about as we go along. Jay is one of my mentees, and I can't really actually listen to something that I told him, like, you clearly did, and we touched on it, and Mary touched upon it. If you don't ask, you don't get. Simple as that.
Thank you. Maria, maybe we can just continue with your story that you were just telling us. And I actually think that in with that resilience piece, because we have all probably experienced career rejections, and it is very difficult to bounce back from sometimes, because we've heard from various panelists saying that sometimes the reasons and rationales just are not clear to us. So maybe we can just start that resilience talk chat with yourself and how you've overcome this and ended up with now.
Yeah, so I think, listen, everyone's different, and you've got to figure out really what you want. And I think for me, it's always been about what's the end goal, right? What am I trying to achieve? And if you focus on that, I think you get your way through. So how have I sort of navigated my career? First off, and anyone who sort of spent time with me will hear me say this over and over again. I don't think about my career in longer than 12-month stretches. Why 12 months? That's the bonus cycle, right? Every 12 months, we get paid a bonus. The Fed tells me what they think about me once a year. I don't care what anyone says, once a year they tell me. So I go 12 months, 11 months, 10 months, 9 months, and before you know it, I've done a year. Then I've done 2 years, and I've done 5 years, and I'm now in my 27th year as it were, right? So that gives you some resilience if you work into something, right? I go home, it's been a hard day, but I know what I'm doing, so I replan, I think about it, and I come back. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I think very hard, but you have to develop the ability to do what I just said. Go home at the end of the day, put today behind you, come in tomorrow and start again. Irrespective of what the day was, good or bad. If you have a bad day and you come in and you're hiding because you're worried about this, you're not going to perform. If you don't perform, the cycle just goes. If you have a good day and you come in and think, I'm the man, yeah, high-fiving people, you're not performing at your best, right? So every day, hard as it may sound, go home, forget about today, come in tomorrow and start again. And those two things, short term, here's my goal, I want to get to the 12 months, right? And just trying to forget what happened yesterday and be my best every day, I think for me is what has carried me through. Everyone's different, but I think without having that goal, this is what I'm trying to get to, I think the resilience gets you high. You can get worn down very, very, very quickly.
Wonderful, thank you. Rita, how about you?
Yeah, I think mindset is such an important piece of the puzzle here. Just to give you guys a warning, right? The rejection doesn't stop once you get the job, right? I just want to be very, very open and honest with you guys. So I'm in a client-facing role. We're pitching for business all of the time. A lot of the transactions that we do, we spend about 3 weeks worth preparing presentation materials for a big pitch, right? 70% of the time, we don't get business. You can't go in there with a mindset saying that we're not going to get this business from the outset, not put our best foot forward. So this is something that you just need to learn to deal with and become more resilient over time. It's also a great opportunity for reflection to understand, solicit feedback. Why wasn't I successful? And also understand when you were successful, to understand what was a differentiating factor in that instance, right? And I found, and particularly in Barclays, the way that we operate is, we're talking about the year-end bonus promotion cycle. As a junior member of the investment bank, you're benchmarked against everybody else in your cohort. Now, the way that they assess performance is they'll put you on a normal distribution, and they'll rank you from a 1 to a 5, a 1 being the best, a 5 being the worst in that group, right? And it has to broadly follow a normal distribution curve. Everybody is extremely high quality working at the investment bank, so I've always felt year after year, competition is extremely fierce. How do I differentiate myself? And for a number of years, I ended up coming right in the middle of the bell curve, thinking that I was doing the best job and most technically sound out of everybody within my class, but why isn't this being reflected in the performance outcomes at the end of the year? And actually soliciting feedback, understanding these small things, which are actually not job related around my capability to do the job, but it's actually around being being present, right? As we heard of before, being visible, people knowing who you are, not just working behind closed doors and actually not making noise around your accomplishments and achievements. And I think actually when I did differentiate myself, become closer to the top buckets, it was actually very, very small tweaks that I made over time. It wasn't a meaningful shift, and it actually wasn't very labour consumptive from my side. It was just these small refinements and adjustments. So I do think there is something in continuing to be resilient, understanding the reasons and drivers behind why you haven't been successful, and actually also finding that out when you haven't been successful, taking both of the pieces of positive and constructive feedback and actually integrating that to and as part of your self-development plan.
Wonderful, thank you. And Sean, how about yourself?
I guess I'll start with saying the level of resilience, adaptability will significantly influence how your career pans out. There's Britain's determination, I'll call you with it later. So 3 tips from me: purpose, go to the gym, and attitude. So if I start with purpose, be hungry, know why you want to do whatever you're going to do, whether it's a promotion, whether it's an organisation. If you're chasing money as a motivator, let's just be truly honest about that. But find your purpose, because that's the thing when it gets really tough, you dig deep. It's like the thing that you just hang into. So don't chase promotions. When people come to me and say, I want a promotion, I'm like, well, hold on a minute. What do you actually want to achieve? What's your purpose? Find that, the promotions will come. So purpose, be hungry. Go to the gym. Resilience isn't something you're just naturally born with. I would love to tell you I could run a half marathon. I assure you I can't. But if I wanted to, I would have a plan. I build resilience. I can't go out partying and then think I'm going to run 13 miles. I don't know how long half marathon is. That's how bad it is. But my point is, take it seriously. Like, work at it. Go to the gym. I loved what you said, Victor, about resilience this year was for this year's performance. Every year you're upping your game. You don't stop going to the gym. The pace of change, the volatility, particularly at this part of what we call the cycle, so the macro environment, is tough. And it's now that you up your game, you kind of dig deep, because you will get through it. So that was purpose, go to the gym. And then mindset and attitude, glass half full. I remind myself, I got 98 rejection letters when I first started. I think you beat me there. I feel like I'm choose something. They were all on paper. I think today you don't even get a response via email. It's probably that bad. I got like written testimony, you are not good enough. I got 40 on one day, literally open, reject. The only way I managed to get that is I've always had some people call it blind, some people call it optimistic. I just knew I would make it. I just believed. And then if you have that belief and you have purpose, it doesn't matter how you get there. It's a question of when, not if. And those are the 3 things I still carry through today.
Thank you, that's amazing. So if I summarise those incredible pearls of wisdom, work towards something, have those short-term goals in there, start every day fresh, differentiate yourself, be visible, up your resilience, every year is a new year, and then have purpose, go to the gym, and have good attitude and mindset, which is fantastic. And Shannon, you touched on the fact that we are actually going through quite a tough macroeconomic, political, environmental stage at the moment. So things are quite difficult. Do you feel that through these challenging external factors that there are opportunities for growth and development?
Absolutely. I think, again, maybe I am blindly optimistic, so take what I say in that context. It doesn't matter. If anything, at this point, there are more opportunities because leaders need people with the right attitude to fix things more than ever. It is harder to break through. But if you can see that you're building your resilience through that learning from everything, that should keep you motivated. But I think, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, it's sort of back to attitude. Everyone wants a winner on their team right now. It is a talent war. And why do they need it? Because it's tougher. So if you're driven, you've got the right attitude, you'll find the right opportunity. And I'll share one if I can. The last financial crisis was when I think my career was really born. I came back from mat leave, I'd had twins, came back with a bucket of imposter syndrome, not good enough. And then I remember on a conveyor belt, Liverpool Street, and my boss said, oh, there's this big deal going on, we need someone with corporate experience who's got capacity. I had hardly any corporate experience. I think I'd been on something called a corporate transaction once when I was training, once. And then the second thing is I had loads of capacity, so that was true. But I stuck my hand up and I was like, I got it. I've totally got it. I did not. I was like a swan, you cool on the top and beneath, you're like, what the heck am I just done? I've got babies at home. But be a swan in that, right? You're the person. I gave my boss in that single moment on that escalator the confidence that I had it. And I was like, let's just be clear, right? I'll work it out. I will work it out, I believe. That was the single defining moment of my career, because I got to lead what was it was called Project Ready, basically creation of Lloyd's Banking Group, as it is now, and readiness for something called Day One. But most of my career pivots have been born of run in when everyone else is running out. Don't expect to be 100% ready. If you've got the confidence and you know enough, then put the hard work in, and it will pay through. And that generally has worked out.
And you will. Victor, how about you start?
Yeah, look, I think it is tough times currently, and that really speaks to the need and necessity to find ways to differentiate yourself. There are so many people going for the same jobs now. I think we're in a different part of the economic cycle, whereas 18 months ago there were loads of jobs going in the tech sector, for example, and now you're seeing, month after month, Amazon, Google have laid off 50,000 workers globally, etc. Right? So the competition is so much fiercer. I think now you really need to find ways to understand the business that you're applying to, understand what you want to get out of it, and actually understand why you are aligned with the career path that you're thinking of going into, right? And it becomes more and more important to build that network, to try and have conversations, to attend events like you're doing this evening, to actually network with people, stakeholders that are in the sector, and actually ask the thought-provoking questions that can also demonstrate your interests and leave a lasting impact on that person. Take their contact details, follow up with a LinkedIn message, follow up with an email, tell them how great you thought they were on the panel. Questions here. But seriously, I think now more than ever, right, you're having to find other ways to differentiate yourself and actually try and build that network to be able to get in through the door. And that's something that I applied at the very beginning of my career. It was a recommendation of a friend, and I'd been for an informal coffee with. This was before Barclays, so not part of the coffee culture over here. But speaking more broadly to building that network and actually, not having the right CV for the role, which I felt was a real blocker. It was actually, the differentiator was me being proactive and reaching out to somebody that I wouldn't have felt comfortable with without a little bit of encouragement from somebody that was already else in the industry as well. So if I could leave one thing with you, is that yes, you are all capable of being in a position and in 10 years' time sitting where I am, because I was in your seat at that point in time as well myself.
Thank you, Victor. And Michael, how about you?
I agree with anything with Shannon and Victor have said. I would say though that the one thing I disagree about is it's no different now than it was when we were looking because we're clearly one thing together. I think it's always been difficult. I think right now it seems like the environment is far harder, the market environment, but it's always the same. There's always tens of thousands of people looking for the jobs. they were when I was looking, they were when you were looking. That's not going to change. I think a lot of things that we talked about, someone talked about, sort of treating this thing like war. It's important if you're looking for a job, you've got to be focused. You're going to get rejections. You just have to plow your way through. So I wouldn't necessarily start it by going, oh, things are so hard now, so the war is me, I'm not going to get a job. It's the same every year. Even in the good years, there are thousands in the good years. There are more people looking for jobs than in the bad years. So it's always the same. So it's more about getting yourself ready, believing in yourself. You know, the one thing I always hear when I sit in sort of these things or on the panel with where there's any sort of diversity, whether or not it's ethnic minorities or women, is imposter syndrome. You never hear these two words in a room full of white men. You just don't. And we have to get over that. Like, we have to get over that. Imposter syndrome, gone. Right? We have to get over that because we all start with our, oh, I'm not sure. Do I deserve to be here? I'm looking around, I'm the only one here. It doesn't matter. Until you can get over that, it makes it very, very hard because it comes out in how you write, it comes out in how you interview, it comes out in your psychometric tests, it comes out in your video interviews. So you have to get over that, and I know it's hard, and we all get it, but we have to learn to get over that. So I think that's very important. And again, and when it's in times like this where you say it's harder to find jobs, it's even more important that you go in with confidence when you go out looking for jobs.
Thank you. And Victor, you mentioned that it is very important to understand the sectors that you're kind of going into. I would really love to hear from you guys around some of the trends that you are seeing or experiencing in banking, finance, that you think our guests should maybe pay some attention to.
Listen, I'm working in a team focused on sustainability, so I'm definitely gonna put my marketing hat on for that. But look, I think more generally, right, there has never been a bigger seismic shift in the banking industry than we're seeing today in terms of focus on sustainability and advancing that. I think I always see a bank as a reflection of society because we finance every sector of the economy, from you guys in the room that might have current accounts or overdrafts with Barclays or mortgages with Barclays, right? To the large oil and gas companies that we finance, or name brand, consumer retail companies, for example, right? We're active in every sector of the economy, and our balance sheet is really a reflection of that. Never before have we had more focus and pressure from our retail customers all the way up to our large corporate customers, and making sure that we're directing our capital in an ethical and sustainable way, right? And Barclays, as many other banks on the street, have set very ambitious net zero targets. We need to be net zero greenhouse gases by 2050, right? It's all good and well putting that on paper, as many banks have, but we really need to have strategy that we can deliver that, right? This is actually starting to impact the lending decisions that we make within the bank, the transactions that we underwrite as a bank as well, and the advice that we give to companies as part of their transition. And companies that are actually falling out of line with our transition strategy and plans, there's going to have to be some very, very tough conversations to have in the future to tell them that we can't finance them anymore. Or we're giving them almost an ultimatum to say within 12 months, if you're not at point Y from X, this is no longer a relationship that we can honour within the institution. And never before have we really seen kind of really like an uprooting of the traditional banking and investment banking model, and we're currently going through really big change in the industry. And what we're doing as a bank, and within my team specifically, is also providing advice to companies so that they can future-proof their businesses, continue to have open sources of capital funding so they can ensure that investors will continue to invest in them, banks will continue to bank with them, and that their customers will continue to buy products from them. And really, we have a large role to play as a bank with our pockets and our wallet to be able to direct capital at these institutions and force them to make positive change. So I think that's probably the biggest shift in the industry that I've seen in my time in this role.
Wonderful, thank you. Sean, how about yourself?
One's a thematic, and one is perhaps the thing I think even before we think about climate change, it's right in front of us, AI. Right, so it's described as the fourth industrial revolution, Technology is not new, disruption is not new, but the pace and the scale at which this technology is going to develop over the next 12, 18 months, and the way consumers will consume it, react to it, I think it's almost like this conversation that's not happening. So for me, I think one of the things it's all pervasive. Doesn't matter what you're going to, banking, government, whatever sector, you've got to understand the beast that is AI. Lots of podcasts on it. The thematic that I want to call out that is, I think, even more prevalent than when I started my career and I was at your stage, is the pace of change. It is extraordinary, and the skill, I think, those entering the workforce now will need far more than I had. I still had the benefit of a fax machine, right? You wanted to get something done, you had the luxury of the 5 minutes while the thing printed out. It doesn't happen anymore, it's all instant, and that's without AI in its true sense. So having a willingness to be adaptable and change is critical. If you don't have that, you'll be redundant as quickly as you arrived. It's a bit to the 12 months point Michael was making. But stay curious. It's a lifelong career of learning and adapting, because it'll be AI today, climate tomorrow, and it'll be something you probably can't even imagine in 5, 6 years' time.
Thank you. Michael, yourself.
So I think, you captured the two things that I can go that sort of, if I think about themes, sort of AI and ESG. I think the one thing I would say though is the more things change, the more things stay the same. Banking is a people business. You get that trading floor and you get that floors, it's full of people. So there will be, I remember in 2000 when the dot-com sort of boom started, I was told that in 5 years there would be no salespeople. That was 23 years ago. There's still salespeople out there. People like dealing with people. Right, that's not going to change. So I think we'll see all of these themes and all these changes, but right down, deep down, this is a people business. And so long as you stay with that, understand how to work with people. You guys have all been through school, through universities, you have clubs, you have friends. Understanding how to work with and deal with people is the thing that's going to carry you through all these changes. And, I knew nothing, I still know nothing about technology, but, you guys grew up with technology, you know so much more than I would ever know because you're going with the times. Stay adaptable, as Sean said, but again, underline this, it's a people business. Stay with that and you'll be fine.
Wonderful. It is shocking to think that half an hour has gone by. So we have one more question and then I'll open the floor for Q&A. And I guess the final question maybe has 2 parts. One is, what does that successful home look like or feel like for you guys? And anything else personal still for our guests? Sean, maybe you can start this week.
Wow, I think somebody said this earlier, it's your own race, so you define what success means to you, but be ambitious to reach your potential. Don't have that glass ceiling that we talked about. So it doesn't help your thought process to, for example, we're at a really tough time in the market. Okay, so what? Delete it. Just go at it and really believe in yourself. I think the panel earlier just gave some phenomenal, really good tips. The one that stood out for me, I describe it like this: every interaction is an interview. Anyone who doesn't believe that is kind of lost the plot somewhere. You'll get an impression from this panel today, and one day when you're managing directors, CEOs of businesses, I might rock up applying for a job, and what you think of me from this moment will at least make you consider interviewing me, or potentially absolutely rejecting me first off. And I think sometimes we underestimate the power of every touch point that we have at every moment.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Victor.
Yeah, if I could mind. So look, I used to look at things on kind of promotion being the benchmark of success. I've been through starting off as a graduate, getting promoted to assistant vice president, then vice president, then director. And these are things that I worked hard for and drove to, and they were my North Star in terms of, real feedback, tangible material feedback on my performance and validating my existence at a certain level, right? I've always felt with every promotion that I've had, kind of the time for celebration and, self-praise kind of wears off within a couple of days, sometimes a couple of hours. And then you're just left with the question, okay, what next? What is the next benchmark? What is the next milestone, right? And is that 3 years away? Is that 4 years away? If it's 4 years away, can I make it 3? If it's 3, can I make it 2? And I always get left with the kind of feeling of unfulfillment after all of these kind of promotion cycles, because you build it up to be something so big, you know. Yeah, my mum would be crying on the phone, you know, when I told her that I made a director, for example, and telling all my aunties and uncles, etc. We were very proud. But for me, I was always just thinking about what was the next step. So I actually started to disassociate my success with my level or the promotion cycle, and really it was a couple of things, you know, that kind of defined success for me. First and foremost, it is being in spaces, occupying spaces where people that look like me haven't historically been the majority. So that's something that I'm trying to do more of and inspire the next generation of talent. I think we're doing an amazing job of bringing graduates in, but when I look at people, my counterparts at my level, there is not so much diversity within the industry, not talking about Barclays, but within the industry more broadly, of people from black backgrounds or mixed backgrounds at my level, right? So actually being able to inspire the next generation of talent and show them that you can do this too, and actually have that kind of representation that serves as a incentive or aspiration to the next generation. Then it's also, you know, bring on something that Michael said earlier. This is a relationship business, right? And out of work, I feel that I'm very good at building relationships, and I wanted to be in a position where I could bring my authentic self and use that as a differentiating factor to bring towards my client relationships, right? And actually, you know, we've mentioned imposter syndrome about 10 times this evening. I started off mimicking others in my career and looking at what others did and actually trying to replicate that style. I'll tell you now, I think on all occasions that's absolutely failed in terms of, you know, success stories that I was able to drive. Actually being able to find your niche and where you're comfortable will actually provide the playing field for you to excel within your own right. So those are the two factors that I would contribute to success for myself.
I'm not sure of the answer to that. I still don't feel like I'm successful, as it were, if I'm honest. And I think Sean made the point around it's different for different people. Honestly, for me, you know, it started off, you know, just getting a job in banking felt like success to me. Then you get a promotion, then you set a compensation target, and then you hit that. And then you set a promotion target, and you hit that. And actually, I think the happiest I've ever been in banking was when they gave me an office. Like, that to me was
You still have one?
just around.
I took mine away.
Just around. Right, so it means different things to people. And I sometimes sit around and think, I wish I'd done that or I can do this. And again, everyone's different. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to stop working until my job there. So I'm hoping at some point I'll feel successful. I think I've done okay, and, you know, take what I have, and as you see, everyone's different in terms of kind of what success looks like to them.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have time for some questions, Michaela? 2 questions, right. Do we have mics? Yeah?
Yeah.
So we've got one just there. Lovely lady in the green. There. Oh, no, come forward. There. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I wrote this one down. So, yes, I'll do that. So I feel like, based on what you said, there's a lot of talent in Barclays. So for this hope that wasn't picked up in the graduate programs or the internships or friendships, what advice would you give people that want to strategically navigate their way through such a global bank?
Shall I go? Yeah. Don't give up if it's something you're really passionate about. Be flexible on how you enter that environment. So I remember when I was, my 98 rejection letters were on me, I got I got one shot, and it was in Cambridge, and I really wanted to be in London because that's where all the big firms were. And it wasn't in the area that I really liked. It was a slightly different area of law. I just grabbed it. Yeah, so I think I learned through that exercise not to be precious about how I got in. And anyone who's got kids, you ever go to those like play parks where you're up and down and in and out, and soft play. Mine are old now, so God, I don't have to go anymore. I'm not stuck in one, seriously. But don't give up, and you'll find your way through. Some of the great tips from the panel earlier, your network, all of that, those sorts of strategies that you need to use.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I think I completely echo that. If you want to work for the institution, the role that you want to go for may not be on the market at the moment. They might not be hiring for that, right? But there are ways to get into the institution and then network, right? And I'll speak to an example of a VP, which is in my team. She met a managing director in the ladies' toilets, and they liked each other's shoes, and they sparked a conversation there, and had an email dialogue after that. Now she's very, very successful in our team, right? So it's about actually finding a route, an unconventional route perhaps, to find your way into the institution, and then you can do networking, and you can reach out to Jay for a coffee chat after.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the question. Was there another question?
Samaya, can I just add on to that, just to signpost that we've got 2 colleagues from talent acquisition right at the back of the room, so if you want to have a chat with them after.
Can you guys give us a wave?
Everyone's happy.
Yes. Wonderful. Where was our second question? I believe it was the gentleman just there.
Hello, thank you very much for sharing your story. You guys talk about being resilient, having plans, and making it happen. What if something happened in your personal life and you're having a very tough time? My question is, how do you balance your personal and professional life? And if there is a line, where do you draw the line between the work and your life?
It's a tough one, but going back to I think what we all say, right? You got to figure out what you want right out of life. Like you just can't. No one can answer that question for you, right? I mean, maybe that there's stuff going on in your personal life and you have to deal with that. Sometimes it's much more important than going to work, right? So you have to figure out yourself. I don't think anybody can help you figure that out. But then there is a balance, right? You know, you have stuff going on in your personal life, but you know what? You have to earn money, right? Sometimes it's just about, I need to go out and I need to earn money. And you have to try and figure out the balance. And there is a balance. I think, 25 years, 30 years ago, maybe you couldn't walk into a bank and go, oh, I've got issues at home and therefore I need some help. Today, I promise you can, right? I mean, it is, things are so much more flexible than when I started, right? So I don't think you should use that as a reason or as an excuse. I think you should be able to go in and say, this is what I'm going through. I need some help. It means that you may need to step out of your comfort zone. You may need to work some hours that you don't want to work. You may have to do some things that you don't want to in terms of timing, extra. But if you make an effort these days, I think most banks will work with you, is what I'm saying. So I wouldn't sort of go, oh, there's something really deep going in my personal life, so I can't go to work. That would be my call, my take on things.
Could I build on that? One thing I'm a bit concerned about is what you've heard from all of us is resilience, go at it, we're all superheroes. I'll take it all for myself, I am not. And it's very generous of Mary to share her story. I've had a breakdown in work. That is not pretty. And it's because I expected too much of myself, balancing my family, ambition to prove myself despite everyone thinking. So you have to be kind to yourself. And that's why when you choose who you work for, you really got to think about the culture you're buying into and whether that's going to work for you. I'll give you an example. I've mentioned that not everyone chooses to have or can have children, but I've had 3 of them. And I remember listening to a speaker who talked about having it all. Absolute nonsense. Let's just be super clear. You cannot be a full-time mother with 3 kids, have a full-time career. Most people are outsourcing it. It's called the nanny. Or they're paying half or all of their wages so they can go to nursery. So I think for me, it was having really honest conversation. There are things I could proactively do in that scenario to up my resilience, but I had to know my boundaries and know where my breaking points are. And also be prepared to walk away. Sometimes you could try, 1,000 times, and actually you need to walk away and find maybe an alternative or something like that. And that is not a failure. That's choosing your health over something that may or may not break you.
I think if I can add, Shan's point is really spot on. We make it sound like you need to be Superman or Superwoman. You don't. As I say, it's a people business. We are all the same. If we can make it, you can. I think it's very important not to sit around or hear, I've got to be X to make it. We all come from very different backgrounds, different places, and we all figure out how to make it. And I think that's why we all talk about resilience, because that's the only thing that we have when we think about what gets us there in common. But at the start of it, we are all exactly the same. And as I say, we make it sound like that's a very, very good point you have, because after a while, it just becomes second nature to you. But you don't have to be Superman or Superwoman. And as I say, today, I think banks, in particular, are much more willing to work with you. Walk away if it doesn't work for you. Again, you got to know what you want, and then you go for that. And it doesn't always have to be work. It doesn't always have to be I'm chasing the money or the promotion extra. Sometimes it's just I'm going to look after my family. Like, life's too short.
And if I may be bold enough to add one other thing around the idea of not maybe going through a very difficult situation in your personal life, the most important thing in my view is never to feel isolated, as in just to always reach out to people within the business that you trust and that you can speak to and get their views and guidance as well. So never feeling isolated when you're in those situations is very important. Do we have time for one more, or are we pushing it a little bit? We've got one right at the back.
Hi, I'm conscious of time, so I'll make this really brief. You guys have spoken about the imposter syndrome. I would just like you to quickly share your experience, if you've experienced that at all in your career, and how you overcame that.
So I'm sorry, the mic was a little bit fuzzy. So was that imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And how they experienced it and how they
The experience you've got you able to share how you came.
I'll try and be quick. There's a modicum of imposter syndrome that's healthy. It's called humility. So let's just be super clear. What I'm not saying is be arrogant. I'm the big I am. I can do it all. So I want to make sure we haven't misinterpreted that. Humility is really important because it grounds you, makes you appreciate you don't have it all, you don't have all the answers, and you become a really deep listener. But there is a point at which imposter syndrome is a drag on your ability to progress, and it becomes what I call your personal glass ceiling. It's not other people who are stopping you, it's you who are stopping you. And the tips I would give you are probably threefold. Surround yourself by people who are honest, but also pump you up. I think Mary talked about the friend that you talk to. What you want is a really good coach. He's going to be honest with you, but motivate you and inspire you. Surround yourself with people who make you feel good about yourself. And then, this might sound odd, but it's like going to the gym, you've got to practice it. So people forget, they think, oh, I'm not going to have imposter syndrome tomorrow. Well, guess what? It's an ingrained habit that's probably taken years to form. It requires effort. You've got to train for the marathon to overcome it. And you'll never, ever not have it. And you have to keep reminding yourself that you can get unfit. And it's everything from watch the narrative in your head. What are you saying to yourself? You're damaging your own thoughts. Don't catastrophize. Put positive thoughts in. You've actually got to practice that, whether it's through meditation, whether it's other people reinforcing it. But yeah, those would be my 2 tips. Watch who you surround yourself with, and remember it's something that you need to actively work at to change.
What she said.
What she said times 3. But also, I think there is a big lesson in coming prepared for any situation or scenario that you're in. And when I look at some of the successful leaders and very, very senior bankers that I've been in meetings with, right, I see them holding the pitch book, but they've got typed up notes giving them bullet points of everything that they're going to say so they don't forget the key messages to deliver. And I look at that as a more junior banker, with somebody who I aspire to be in a position of 25, 30 years of experience, still goes through the same struggles that we do, right? So you can't take that for granted. You know, maybe they're experiencing imposter syndrome as well. Maybe it's just the fact that this is high stakes business and they don't want to mess this up, right? Because business, revenue generation depends on that. So, you know, there are a lot of things that you can do personally to mitigate that feeling imposter syndrome. It's not easy, but solicit feedback and also come very, very well prepared.
And I think that is the perfect place to round off to our inspirational leaders. Thanks to you, John, Victor, and Michael, and also to Jay, Nana, Anne-Marie, and also our guest, Mary, as well. And also a huge thank you to all of you for spending the evening with us. Thank you very much.
And now on to final remarks, without taking much of our time. I want to say, first of all, a big thank you to everyone in the room that has taken time out of their day to come for Young Black and in Finance 2023. So can we give ourselves a round of applause? I want to say thank you to our panelists, Michael, Victor, Sean, Anne-Marie, Jay, Nana. Thank you for taking time out of the day. This has been months of planning. What you see today was birthed in a very brief catch-up call that we have fortnightly. What we do for Black History Month and the careers team. And it just came to mind, Young Black and in Finance, and here we are. Victoria, Nana, my partner in crime, Michaela, can you please stand up? Because we would not be where we are now without them. Shout out to Mary. I have been following Mary for a number of years now. As Mary said, she used to work at Goldman. When I was applying for graduate schemes, I saw Mary was in risk at Goldman. My brother recommended her to me. And I used to see, she used to post some stuff like, I want to do what she does. So I just followed her. She does lots of inspirational quotes and lots of videos. So definitely keep in touch and follow her. She's also around for a chat before you leave. And also taking time out on your 1-year anniversary. Thank you so much. Samaya, our lovely host. When we were talking about Young Black in Finance and discussed who could we get to host this event for us, Michaela and Nana so buddingly said, I know this lovely lady from BUK, she's so good, I've heard her speak, like everyone just listens to her the moment she opens her mouth. And I can honestly say she does hosting with such grace. So can we give a round of applause? Everyone, we have the Early Careers Talent Acquisition team with us today. They've taken time out of their busy schedules. So they're right at the back. Could you give us a wave, please? So applications for all our schemes are actually open. They have been going all around the country at the moment. And have made it very, very important to be here. So they'll be around for networking. If you have any questions about just application interviews, what we have going on at the bank at the moment, they are your best point of contact. I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Emanuela Bazwe. I am the BPRG Early Careers Co-Lead with my partner in crime, Michaela, at the back, and my day job is I'm a risk analyst at Barclays International. And for final remarks, I asked the team, what would you like me to say to everyone that comes? What's one thing we want you to take away? There's so many things that I've taken away from our panel, our fireside chat, but if it's one thing, the conversation, the inspiration and the motivation does not end here. It starts the moment you leave the door. We can attend as many of these talks, events about career, imposter syndrome, what should we do? But the main thing is that, you are the key driver of your career. And these events are, yes, to draw inspiration from, but use this network to keep yourself going and also have that conversation once you leave the two doors. And in saying that, as I said, my name is Emanuela, we also have Michaela, and everyone else has their badges. Stay in contact. If you have a question or you want to have a chat, I figured out this is what I want to do. Do you have anyone, in the area that you could put me in contact with? We are more than happy to help you with that. I remember when I wasn't in the bank or in a bank attending events like this, in a seat like that, would I ever thought that I'd be in a position talking to you guys today? No. But you can be in that position and you deserve to be in that position and you are an asset anywhere you go. And with that being said, thank you very much. We have networking with some light refreshments through the big double, no it's a single blue door at the back there. Stay as long as you like. I'm conscious it is Monday, so I know everyone won't be staying too long, but yeah, thank you guys.
My name is Michaela Spencer-Rogers, and I work in BUK Sustainable Finance, but I'm also the co-lead for the Early Careers workstream for the Black Professionals Resource Group here at Barclays. Tonight we had an incredible evening with some amazing speakers, and I think the key insights that I really drew is to get rid of that imposter syndrome, push it to the side, and just remember that we're all the same, we're all human. You can build resilience every day, and every day is a new day to succeed. In general, I think events such as these are so important to really build community at Barclays and also showcase some amazing Black talent and the diversity of talent that we have, and to celebrate it for Black History Month has just been really wonderful.
So my name is Emanuela and I lead on the BPRG Early Careers team, and today we have managed to run our first major event, Young Black and in Finance 2023. And I say 2023 because we're hoping for this to be an annual thing. We have had months and months of planning and we are so happy with how today has turned out, and stay in touch, stay tuned for more.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I am a member of the BPRG and I've been working on the Young Black in Finance event, Black History Month. I think the event was amazing. I think it was epic. I think it exceeded our expectations and we took away so many nuggets of pieces of information I feel I can then go and take and put towards my career. I think the raffle was really fun. I think most importantly, it was really good to see this event be filled with so much young, Black, booming talent. And so thank you to everyone that came. And I hope to do this again. Let's make it a YBF annual conference.
So this evening, BPRG ran the Young, Black and in Finance session, which was an incredible two-panel event. And we also had a guest speaker, an incredible author who talked about her journey in becoming an author. This session was incredible. It was a few hours. The panels were so insightful. They gave us so many incredible pearls of wisdom. The buzz in the room was incredible. I personally took away a huge amount from this evening's session. And honestly, it has just been an honor to be part of such an incredible event. I think about 200 people turned up, which really blew my mind. So thank thank you to everyone who came along today.
Hi there, my name is Mary Mashakwe Adeyemi. I am a career strategist and a learning and development consultant, and it's so exciting to be here at Barclays at the Young Black in Finance event. Just phenomenal to be in a room like this with just amazingly motivated, and capable Black people and other professionals in the room. I didn't have rooms like this when I was starting my career, so this is so important. And I just love all of the tips that we heard from the panelists, from the fireside chat, from everything just about resilience, continuing to try again, thinking outside the box, and just knowing that everything that you need to succeed is inside of you. And I also love the push towards getting as much support as you need for your career. And that's why I love doing the work that I do as a coach and career strategist. And I hope people out there leverage those types of resources in their careers, because that can make the difference between staying where you are or accessing and accelerating the career that you want. So.
Hi, I'm Raphael Nene. It was great to come to the Young Black in Finance event hosted here at Barclays. What I got from today was just resilience, vision, have a plan and stick to it. There's going to be rejections, there's going to be knockbacks, but what do you do? How do you overcome that hurdle? You just keep on going, have the end goal in mind, and just be yourself, be authentic, and just keep on pushing, That's it, thank you.
And a free book.
And a free book as well, Visible Strengths by Mary Adeyemi, 1 year anniversary. I was glad to be a winner in the raffle, so I'm looking forward to reading this and getting a signed copy. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ash.
And I'm Addy.
I'm the Senior Global Early Careers Manager here at Barclays.
And I'm Early Careers Recruiter here at Barclays.
And we have come here tonight to make sure that we're breaking down the barriers to tap into underrepresented talent.
And we've been educating young people to get into our early careers team.
We are super excited that we had over 180 students and internal employees join us for a really exciting panel event, and now had the opportunity to network with talent and educate them on our offerings, which Adi will talk about.
Yes, we have internships, we have graduate programs, and we have apprenticeships. These are programs that apply for anyone, no matter the age or the sex or the diversity. We recruit from 16 years old and we recruit up to 99 years old.
Everyone is welcome, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Hello guys, I'm Najib Jassa. I'm a third year university student. I was part of the Young Black in Finance panel at Barclays. I found this to be extremely inspiring and extremely informative. Talking and conversing with a group of people that are just like you and have your shared interest to heart is the best thing.
Thank you to everybody for coming to the Young Black in Finance panel event today. We had a two-panel discussion with aspiring and senior leaders, giving their insights into what it takes to be really successful within the financial services sector. As you can see, there's been numerous people that have come here, felt inspired and taken away tips. And I feel these types of events are really important because it helps to nurture latent talent in people that have the ability to succeed but just need that extra push. So long may it continue. Thank you for everybody that came, and I hope you took some gems away from today's event.